wonder if Donald Trump is watching Heated Rivalry. Interesting. Hi, everyone. This is Pivot from New York Magazine and the Vox Media Podcast Network. I'm Kara Swisher, and welcome to 2026. Scott is still away at undisclosed location. I can't go into it, but there's so much going on that I've assembled a super group of smart folks to help me cover it all. We've got Don Lemon from The Don Lemon Show, Stephanie Ruhle from MS Now's The 11th Hour, and Brooke Hammerling, communications specialist, podcaster, and culture guru behind the Pop Culture Mondays newsletter. I want to talk about 2026 going forward, so I put this team together that could talk about anything. Welcome, everybody. We've got to dig into a bunch of things. And everyone's going to sort of focus on Stephanie with business, Don politics, Brooke with culture, but anybody could weigh in on anything at all. So any thoughts would be great. So President Trump says the U.S. is quote, in charge of Venezuela following the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife over the weekend. As we record, the two are set to be arraigned in a Manhattan federal court on drug trafficking weapons charges. Trump is also putting pressure on Venezuela's acting leader, warning if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price. I don't know what that means. He's not backing Venezuela's opposition leader, reportedly because he's annoyed she won the Nobel Prize over him and then didn't give it to him. Trump is now threatening Colombia, saying Cuba looks like it's, quote, ready to fall, and talking about taking Greenland again. I don't know what's in his Wheaties. It seems to be part of his Donroe Doctrine, as he's coined it, after the Monroe Doctrine, for those who know history. It sounds just as idiotic as it seems. Don, let's start with you. There's a lot to get to, but let's start with the big picture. What is happening over there at the White House, and what do you make of all this? Obviously, there's Epstein issues, economy issues, healthcare issues that he may be trying to avoid, but thoughts?
Well, I think the obvious is that it's chaos. I mean, it's chaotic for the country. It's bad for the country. I believe, and I think, Kara, maybe you have said this as well, and I agree with you if you did say it, is that I think that Donald Trump has been surprised by how much he's been able to get away with. And every time he gets away with something, it emboldens him to do something else, to do something that's even worse. I was listening to a podcast over the holidays, and it had quotes from Barack Obama in there, and everything he said about what was going to happen in the second Donald Trump administration really came true. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said, we've seen this movie before, and we know the sequel is always worse. And so the more Donald Trump gets away with, if he is allowed to pardon people and there's not enough uproar about it and nothing happens, and he's going to arrest people without due process on the streets or detain them, even if they're American citizens, or he's going to invade sovereign countries. Now, I think everyone on this panel and everyone can agree that something needed to be done about Maduro. He's a bad person, but it's just the way that he did it. And look, how can a tyrant
right
arrest or detain another tyrant? Right. It doesn't make sense.
Rather easily, as it turns out.
Rather easily. And just real quickly, what he's doing, though, I believe, is setting a precedent, because from what he said is that Maduro was this and that. He's a tyrant and he was a criminal and he did all these things. He tried to overturn an election, or he influenced an election, which is the very same things that Donald Trump tried to do. And he's also a criminal. So
which Gavin Newsom pointed out online.
So why does Donald Trump get away with it and Maduro doesn't? It doesn't make sense.
So Stephanie,
make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Yeah, make it make sense. Trump
make
wants
sense.
U.S. oil companies. They've talked about that into Venezuela to rebuild the industry, and that happened in, I think, 98. As of this recording, oil stocks are surging and the price of oil is holding steady. Talk a little bit about the business implications, because most people feel like it's about oil, but I think it's about a whole lot more than just that. Obviously,
well, what it's not about is drugs, right? Donald Trump, over a dozen times this weekend, said oil. We heard Marco Rubio say this is about freeing oil for the people. What people? And to me, one of the biggest tells was on Air Force One when Donald Trump was asked, did you speak to American oil businesses before? And he said, I spoke to them before and I spoke to them after. Okay? Congress was not notified, but businesses were. That's how autocracies run. That is not how a democracy runs. And it's important to remember that American oil companies entered into risky deals to develop oil, Venezuelan oil, years and years ago.
Yes.
Those deals were canceled by the Venezuelan government.
Chavez.
Yes, correct. Before Maduro. What's happening now, we are now making an aggressive move that we're now going to spend an enormous amount of money and human capital sending American troops down there for U.S. oil businesses who, by the way, it's unclear if they actually asked the president for this or not, because yes, they're all going to shuffle down there and figure out how we're going to make a whole lot of money out of this. But remember, it's not like Donald Trump saying today, we now control Venezuela. They're not going to turn on the spigots and money is now going to pour into this country. This will now cost our government billions of dollars, right, to now go down there and to secure it. And now these companies are going to decide, are they going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, or at least $100 billion in the next decade, because that's how long it's going to take to then get this oil business opportunity to come to fruition. My question is, who are the American people? We know in the last 10 months, all that Donald Trump has done to please the tech community, or all that he's trying to do to please Wall Street. And I think this is a quick, important reminder. When they say Wall Street loves this, I spoke to a bank CEO yesterday that said we were positioned for this. We went long Venezuela. We went long PDVSA, which is the state-owned oil and gas company, a week ago. And they were positioned because the markets go up. Investors can sell everything tomorrow, right? Something, there's a conflict, they can buy today, they can sell tomorrow, they're out. What hurts government and the American people, we can't make giant long-term, we have to make giant long-term decisions as a government. We don't operate like day traders. And so when Wall Street says this works for me today, it works for them today until China tomorrow says, oh, hold on. Are you ready for what we're going to do with Taiwan? If this is Trump's strongman move, giddy up. Look what we could do here. So that's where Wall Street, and I'll stop talking now, that's when Wall Street is sort of two minds. On one hand, they're like, money's coming in. This is an opportunity. Great. We're going to unleash this. But on the other, now that there's no rules in the jungle, right? Now that we're breaking international law and world norms, what could happen around the world? And that's what has...
The other thing is for now, because he's got a short amount of time here. It's only a couple of months and then they're stuck. Brooke, she was just saying on social, like all the things that are going on, MAGA really reacted in very different ways. Obviously, Marjorie Taylor Greene was against it, but
America first.
But some of them weren't. They were. There was also there was a ton of stuff going viral on TikTok, such as Maduro's outfit.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be clear, because the kids are driving the cultural conversation. Maduro is now a fashion influencer. It's unbelievable. That picture of him on the airplane it turns out to be a Nike suit. It's a Nike tech suit, and he had what people were saying was like an eye patch, but it was clearly goggles to cover his eyes. But there are so many memes about his fashion. The viral memes have gone crazy. They have him as a fashion icon. I mean, your friend Baratunde posted a picture of himself in the sweatsuit saying like, hey, I already own this. So
everything becomes comedy.
It's become comedy.
Which is kind of serious.
And it couldn't be less funny.
Correct.
The core of all of this. We can't, while we're criticizing what the president did or the way he did it, Maduro is a horrible, awful man, an oppressive leader. And so Venezuelans and Americans are thrilled to see this man out of power. But Kara, you're asking the most important question with now what? But the absurdity of him now being a fashion icon is so absurd in every way.
But that shows you where our culture is going. And I believe it shows you what the grossness that the MAGA folks have just injected into society and the culture. And it's also social media as well.
It's social media. I mean, for me, it's not as much MAGA as it is the kids that are turning, they've created like a DJ set with him. And he's now become this sort of, Che Guevara kind of person that the kids are like, he's somebody to now look up to.
Insane.
Don, I think it's way more TikTok Nation than it is MAGA. And this is going to be so challenging for America First MAGA. Like, I'm thinking about my mother, Louise Ruhle, who always argues, like, I'm sorry, Stephanie, we can't be thinking about foreign policy. There's kids in West Virginia who can't even go to a good school. People who live in West Virginia aren't thinking, certainly, or around the, that original MAGA base who says, I'm a forgotten American, is not being remembered when it comes to what we're doing.
Well,
with
MAGA is
Venezuela.
morphing right now. Don't forget that that TikTok is becoming MAGA. Remember who's going to take over the algorithm of TikTok? That's going to be the Ellisons. They are MAGA.
Well,
if you are on well, they're going to have.
Well, Oracle will own 15%. Let me be clear.
So, but let me say, if you are on TikTok, and if you are, you've noticed that your algorithm has changed. And if there's more pro-MAGA stuff that gets elevated than stuff that is anti-MAGA or that just tells the truth about Donald Trump. So TikTok, I believe, from my experience with TikTok, that it is MAGA.
It is MAGA.
It's
so
one and the same.
Last question for you, Don, and maybe Stephan, you can add to it, is what does Congress do? They come back this week, right, at some point. What happens here? What do they do? Because they've been rather quiet about, Rubio was all over the TV, all over the place, talking about, justifications, which are different than Donald Trump's but they were talking it up, that's for sure. So what happens next?
Well, I think Congress will make a lot of noise and then do nothing, as they always do, sadly. I mean, they need to do more. They could start some sort of procedure. They can just do hearings. They can demand something. Actually, Chuck Schumer, actually said the F-bomb. Well, to hear that coming out of Chuck Schumer's mouth, but he should have had that energy a long time ago.
Years ago.
Years ago, before Roe was overturned. You know what I mean?
Right.
Before Donald Trump got elected the second time, they should have had the balls, as you said, to do something, and they're not. So I blame both the Democrats and the Republicans. I mean, obviously the Republicans
What's next from your perspective?
Well, maybe balls are the problem, because if women were in charge, we know how to multitask.
Well, I'll let you go with that.
Think about, we know how to multitask. and while Venezuela is hugely important, it's going to occupy Congress. It's not occupying the daily lives of the American people. And the American people are about to wrestle with soaring healthcare costs, affordability problems, and we've got, I'm certainly not going to say a labor crisis by any means, but we've got a tenuous labor situation happening in this country right now. So lawmakers are going to go back. They've got to deal with Venezuela, the amount of effort and time and money we're going to spend there. And then the issues facing American people's daily lives, which are the reason Donald Trump's poll numbers were getting lower and lower in the months leading into year's end.
And finally, Brooke, what's the next viral thing besides this ridiculous Maduro outfit thing?
I mean, I think we're going to see more of the ridiculousness. I think we're going to see right now we're seeing the fact that he's in the prison that P. Diddy was in and Luigi.
But then here's the question, Kara. 2 weeks from now, truly, 2 weeks from now in Davos, when every world leader and business leader all gets together and talks about how we're going to collaborate and make the world better and stronger together, what's going to be the theme this year? Strongman who done it?
Yeah. Well, what is it? You're going?
I am not.
I can't wait to see what Jeff Bezos wears, because that's what we all care about with his.
All right, moving on.
I honestly think the people who attend Davos are sort of in on it. They want the money. So I don't think there's going to be a theme or
Okay, that's a great point, because but here's the problem then, Don. The idea of Davos is supposed to be about thoughtful leadership.
Yes.
True.
And if where we are right now with our business and political leaders is, if you can't beat them, join them, let me get in on the hustle, then I guess that's my question. Every year it's, what is the Davos man? Well, what the heck is he if he's just somebody who's in on the crypto hustle?
I think they're going to sound a lot like Donald Trump on Air Force One with Lindsey Graham standing next to him, about to drop to his knees and, shine his shoes or whatever he's going to do. They said it out loud. They said, this is about oil. They said, Donald Trump said this is about oil, and Lindsey Graham said, with all of the deals and all of this happening, we're going to become more prosperous with all of these new that's what it's about, and that's what Davos is going to be about. That's it.
Yeah. Is Davos relevant,
Okay,
Stephanie?
then when are we going to talk about debt and deficits? If we're going to become more prosperous this way, it's going to cost us an enormous amount of money. So in Davos, where the biggest investors and bond daddies go, what do they think about this kind of spending?
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about what a buzzy, low-budget Canadian show means for the future of entertainment. I know you guys love this one. I'm back with Don Lemon, Stephanie Ruhle, and Brooke Hammerling. Now we're going to get into something a little lighter. We have all the time to take we had a lot of time to take in more TV shows and movies over the holiday break. Let's talk about the breakout star of the past few weeks, Heated Rivalry, which is your favorite thing. Also Don's, apparently. Stephanie, you can weigh in too. Explain very briefly the cultural impact of the show and talk what it means from a business perspective. This was a low-budget Canadian production, not unlike K-pop Demon Hunters. Same thing.
Right.
Canadian and American.
Stephanie said earlier what was occupying the minds of American people. This is what's occupying the minds of American people, which is Heated Rivalry, a gay hockey drama series coming out of Canada. A lot of people think it's HBO because it's been distributed by HBO, but it was made by this
streaming
in this
country.
Yeah, in the US. It was made by this streaming platform in Canada called Crave, and it costs $3 to $5 million an episode. Compare that to Stranger Things, which I think was like $50 million an episode. Yeah. And what is dominating the conversation right now? It's Heated Rivalry in every aspect. I mean, people are like, Don, you've rewatched it, right? This is a phenomenon. People are rewatching it. People are not just watching a series.
As the expert gay man on the panel,
well, but you know what's so interesting?
But it's not just. That's when you said it was a gay story. It's actually a love story.
It's a love story. It is a love story, but people are calling it the gay hockey show. But
it is sex heavy. It is sex heavy.
But the most important episode of that, episode 5, had no sex. And what you're seeing, I think it's a really interesting thing. I mean, first of all, do you know that according to Pornhub, 47% of viewers of gay porn are straight women?
Right.
So that's just the way it is.
Straight women are talking about this show. Straight women love this show. But Brooke, let me, I want to challenge you on this. Is it sex heavy, or is it just that people are not used to seeing gay sex? Right? Because I've seen straight shows that have lots of sex, more sex than this show, and no one says it's sex heavy. It's just that they're maybe not used to seeing gay men being intimate on screen in that way.
I think Kara's favorite show, Hunting Wives, walked, so these boys could run.
That was the amuse-bouche to this, right?
My experience in watching Hunting Wives, where I would leave like my family room and watch it in a private area, I had the same experience because I have kids running around my house.
You would mail an actor and like going
Heated
down.
Rivalry on the plane last night, and I was like.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Well, so wait,
no.
I have
You know what it is? Wait, you know what it is?
You're that
when I
guy,
say sex
Don.
heavy, well, no, when there's the presence, when you're aware that oral sex is taking place, and you have children in your house, like that's sex heavy TV for me. Like we've established regular missionary sex happens on TV, and both those shows feature a different flavor.
So let me just jump in.
Well, talk about the two of them together, because Hunting Wives is coming back for a second season. Heated Rivalry has
2 more seasons. So here's the thing. I think you have a bunch of unknowns, and we're also watching in particular. I mean, there are 3 main guys, which are Connor Story, who plays Ilya, who speaks. If you watch Russian Talk, which is TikTok with Russians, they're losing their minds over his accent and his Russian, when not just his accent speaking English, but his Russian. This is a Texan, born and raised, who started taking Russian lessons a week before filming. It's phenomenal. You're watching Connor Story become a star, and right before our eyes, a star is born. We hope that fame doesn't corrupt him. Hudson Williams, who plays Shane Hollander, is an unknown that is just having an unbelievable moment. And then the most known, I loved him in Schitt's Creek, was Francois Arnaud, who plays Scott Hunter, and he is the one who had that pivotal episode, which is episode 5, which has 0 sex. So I think they bring you in. It's sexy.
It's a story. It's sexy and story. Let me tell me. Brooke just brought up this idea of unknowns and lower costs and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about this from because right now the costs of Hollywood are massive, and sometimes they pay off. Look, Avatar is killing it at the box office, especially abroad. But there's a lot of these. Something when I interviewed Ted Sarandos years ago, he was like, "There's only going to be the big ones and the little ones, and the middle is gone."
But that's why the beauty of this show is the same stroke of beauty of independent media. Right? Before independent media existed, when there was just giant pillars, right? When there was 3 television networks, when there was 3 papers of note, when there was 3 movie studios, you had to work your way up and be part of this giant conglomerate and marketing machine. And that's the only way that content could be distributed. Now, if you make something magical, it can find legs, it can find a home. And that's sort of the beauty of, right? We talk so much about the problems of social media and all the, the bad actors and so on and so forth. But when you now have the system broken and these unknowns can create something on a small platform and then it gets distributed, to me, like, that's extraordinary. And that's something that couldn't have happened decades ago, back when there were, 3 studio heads with their arms folded running Hollywood.
What she said,
right.
Steph.
Yes.
What's absurd?
What she said, Kara. But Kara,
Brooke.
look, I want to say, remember when we had this conversation, we talked about, some of the things you see on independent media and independent journalists and podcasts, it's done by a skeleton crew, what you would call for broadcast. And you walk into a big broadcast studio or office and you go, what are all these people doing here? Yeah. And so Stephanie is right. This is where the media is going. There will be big breakthroughs. There's going to be the big guys. And then I still consider myself a little guy. There's going to be a little guy like me. But this is where it's going. And I think it's actually fantastic because something that's small can have lift, as you say, and something that's big where it's overthought, like what Stephanie says with these guys and people sitting around going, it's got to go through this or whatever. That's not where we are anymore. We're not there anymore. People want it a little messy and authentic. Yeah,
I think
agree.
we're in a
agreeing.
Transition period,
Yeah,
and I think there's space for both, and I think that's what's awesome about it.
What do you guys think? What I'm afraid, and so I'd love your thoughts, is that with the success and the popularity, I mean, it's become the cultural zeitgeist. You have Stephen Colbert talking about he was a bossy bottom. You had Jeff Goldblum asked last night on the red carpet at the awards show whether or not he wants to
You bring up a good point. This is going to change society, I believe, like Will and Grace did. I think that's
what happens if it changes the show where they're like, oh, now that we're so popular, we're going to, instead of 3 to 5 million, we're going to go to 20 to 30 million. That, I feel, will change the heartbeat of the show.
Only got a short. All these shows now have such a shorter life.
But
right?
if the budgets go triple, right? These kids are now huge celebrities.
Well, it happened with Glee.
Or maybe the example that you're pointing to is, remember the first season of Nobody Wants This?
Yes,
okay?
Exactly.
Nobody expected it. You loved every minute of it. It was like, what is this? It's touching me. It's connecting me. And then the second
was
season,
an ad,
which had so much hype.
It was branding.
Had so much branding and product placement. All the people all the women like me who felt that show, who were connected to that show, then felt like you were being sold an Airbnb experience.
And Dunkin' Donuts. It was awful.
And I felt like I felt like they had this magic, and it's still, I'm not knocking the show, but they lost their magic of being this. We're just going to make this. Nobody wants this. Literally the title. Nobody wants this, and we're just going to make it. And it connected with everybody. And then when season 2 came and they product placed the hell out of it, there was a lot more like,
which is the difficulty of having, the long timelines, especially with the streamers, like thinking of Pluribus, another popular show.
Oh, for God's sake. Pluribus, just
popular.
shut.
No, Kara, trying to sell this show on me.
Kara, Fisher, stop.
I shall not. It won. What did it win? What did it win the awards last night?
It doesn't matter. 5 people. I love the show, but you cannot put it in the same breath as heated rivalry.
I shall not put it in the same breath. I'm not talking about. But it
Can I jump in here, please?
It is.
Can I jump in here and tell you, I don't think it's going to change because Jacob Tierney, who you know, Brooke, he's a Canadian creator of this. It's they're adapting a book. They have to stay somewhat true to the book. A book written by a woman. And and I've been watching him because I'm obsessed. My husband's like, you're obsessed with this. And so I think that Jacob Tierney knows that it cannot change. It's got to be authentic and it's got to stay grounded. But here's what I just want to say this one thing. You know how Will and Grace changed the culture and made it okay for, gay people to kiss on TV or just to have gay plot lines on television. I believe that this is doing the same thing to the culture because, as Brooke mentioned, straight guys are talking about it. Hockey podcast. Podcasters are talking about it. People who do sports, they're talking about it. Yeah. And Empty Netters.
It's a podcast with a bunch of white boys who are sports hockey fanatics.
And they're obsessed.
Last thing you would expect. They are crying. Yeah. It's the biggest green flag of men I've ever seen. I've never been attracted to people.
Can I say one thing, Kara?
Can
I tell you a story?
Yes, go ahead. Please.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story.
Brooke's going to get it in a second.
So I don't have a sports background whatsoever.
Yeah.
When I was a senior in college, I went to Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And a boy took me to a dinner at then senior in college's house, Peyton Manning. It was a big dinner. At the time, I didn't even know who he was. He was about to win the Heisman right after Mardi Gras ended. I'm sitting at a long, long, long dinner table of all of these Ole Miss football players. I know nothing about Ole Miss. I know nothing about college football. But looking at a table of 45 boys, I say to the guy next to me, what is it like? What does the mix go with, gay players on the team and straight players on the team?
Silence.
Okay, this question came because I'm a girl who doesn't know sports, but I know math.
Yeah.
And probability and statistics would tell you
Yes.
when dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of men are in a group, there's some gay ones in there.
Right.
When I asked this question at this dinner at Peyton Manning's house or his parents' house in 1997, my date practically threw me in the bayou, flipped
Were
the
you
table.
escorted out, right?
Oh, for real.
Uh-huh.
For real. I mean, a guy hit the table with both hands. What, are you kidding me? I mean, I was on the fast train back to Jersey.
Yeah.
And here we are 30 years later.
Yeah.
And nobody's saying,
Let me say,
you play hockey, you're gay.
Yeah.
It's probability and statistics.
Let me
There's
say,
going to be
that's
some gay
never-
guys on the team.
That's never an issue for women's sports. Who's straight here is what we say. But may I point something out, Brooke, erroneous as you think I am? Who
for
among
God's
us has
sake.
been invited to do a cameo on Heated Rivalry?
Kara,
Swisher!
honestly,
God,
No
Kara.
way. Kara, were you?
And are you
You
doing
mother
it?
pucker.
You were
Yes.
a total mother pucker. I was, by the way, a puck bunny when I was
I
in
do
high school
all
and
the
college.
cameos, my friend.
I know,
I'm-
you're
What's a puck bunny?
okay.
It's, I
Is
grew
that like a lacrosse prostitute?
Is that like a groupie? Is that a
It's
groupie,
a groupie of
puck
hockey
groupie?
players. Yeah, puck bunnies.
No,
Yeah.
you weren't.
Yeah,
no,
I
you
was for the
weren't.
Rangers. I grew up in Rye. That's where the Rangers were. We were puck bunnies. And our parents were like, if you can get us
bunnies.
Ranger tickets, have fun.
Wow,
Yeah.
puck you.
Wow.
Brooke, can I ask you, do you like Ilya and
Yeah,
what's
so
his name? I can't remember.
I love all of
Which
them,
love
so-
story do you like more? Do you like Ilya or do you like Scott?
Well, I was a Scott Hunter because that scene, but I don't love Scott's boyfriend. I'm just going to be honest. He's like a short king. He's great,
Okay.
but he's not my guy. But Ilya
Really?
and Shane, I'm
And
obsessed
Shane.
with. But Ilya, I mean, Connor's story, there's this video of him that he did with Interview Magazine where he's wearing a Gold's Gym t-shirt and he's lip syncing to
dance.
Madonna's Like a Prayer. And
Yeah.
he does this.
And he
I
pours
love all of
water
that.
all over him.
And he,
Yeah.
well, no, that's a different one, but this
That's
is the one where
another
he
one?
does this. Yeah, anyway, it's very, I can't explain it, but this thing has gone so viral. They're showing it in nightclubs.
Yes.
DJs
everybody's
are
looking.
interjecting
Sports
the
bars.
video. Sports bars, they're
yeah.
showing it.
Yeah.
There's a very funny TikTok that's
It's
in
part
my
of the culture.
in newsletter this week that is these two women that are saying like dinner in a movie and their girlfriends eating Chinese food with their chopsticks on the floor, watching this 30-second clip
Yep, it's a
over
big deal.
and over
It's a big
again.
deal.
So
Let's
I
all
wonder if
come
tuna melts are going to
together.
make a comeback because of this, Brooke.
Okay.
They
All
never
right, we're
left.
stopping now.
I,
Let me
when
just say,
did they
I
go?
wonder
It's
if
my favorite.
I wonder if Donald Trump is watching Heated Rivalry.
You know that I could just imagine the conversation that like they've
You
brought
know
to
Lindsey
him.
Graham is watching it.
There's so many
allegedly.
gays in MAGA and Republicans. Of course they're
Allegedly.
watching it.
Allegedly. All right.
Allegedly.
Let's go on a quick break. And when we come back, I want to know what you all think about the biggest stories of 2026. Don, Stephanie, Brooke, we're back. Moving along. It's a new year. I want to know what each of you think will be the biggest stories of 2026. I want you to spin it forward. Don, you'll start politics or whatever. Whatever you think. But politics would be great, but whatever you think is the biggest story going forward.
Well, I think the biggest story going forward is going to be the fracturing of MAGA. It's already started. The MAGA media, starting with the Megyn Kellys and the Candace Owens and the Benny Johnsons of the world.
They're beefing.
Yeah, they're beefing, and I think that is the beginning of the end of MAGA. That's what I believe the biggest story is going to be moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, for me, I'm going to pick the economy because at the end of the day, I think how people vote is truly rooted in their pocketbook and how they live. And what's interesting is the economy is growing, but its growth is fragile, and it's really in the palm of Trump's hands. Like whether the economy builds or weakens depends entirely on Trump's deglobalization agenda, right? Tariffs, mass deportations. So I just think where we go in this K-shaped economy, right, where the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer, and we have and that's only getting exaggerated this year. Where we're headed is where I'm laser beam focused.
Is it really growing or is it AstroTurf? That's why, because that K thing, I'm like, is that growth real? Because people are a lot poorer and you need more people being able to buy things than fewer people being able to buy them. So I don't know if that.
Yes, but
well,
when
he could
you
be
look
goosing
at
it with Venezuela.
business,
He could be. There's ways to goose it, right? To goose the economy.
The economy is certainly being goosed. We could have more federal intervention. We could have more farm aid bills of the like. But remember, when you're facing less and less regulation in your business, which is what we're facing right now, you're going to see businesses spend and grow. The thing that's standing in the way is tariffs. And Trump is fat in the middle of it. But you're right. Is it just AstroTurf? Because Kara talks about this all the time. When you look under the Magnificent Seven, under those big giant tech companies that aren't getting hurt, they're being helped by AI, that aren't getting hurt by mass deportations. When you look under there, lots of those companies are struggling. And if consumers don't have the money to spend, or the money that they're spending doesn't go so far.
It's only rich consumers,
so that's
right?
my point is, it's a fragile economy. And the person who has his hands on the steering wheel is Donald Trump. And let's see what he does.
So what do you imagine being the best case for him and the worst?
I actually think the best case for him would be if the tariffs were to be ruled illegal. That would be his most graceful exit. He could say, I wanted to make America great. I wanted to bring manufacturing back, but they wouldn't let me. Companies would say, great, we're not having to face these tariffs. Happy days are here again. I don't think that's going to happen, or it's going to be super messy. We'll soon find out, right? Trump is the first to say the market is the economy. It's not.
It's not.
The market has done very well. It could do even better. But under that, what is the world going to look like when kids coming out of college can't get jobs, when our healthcare costs are spiraling?
One of the things is we were looking for pajamas yesterday for something. And one of the things that's noticeable is there's fewer items, harder to find, and more expensive. Even if you're, it was kind of it's noticeable in every store now.
Was this online or in real life?
No, it was offline.
Yeah,
but what's noticeable, Kara,
but I'm talking, that's how most people shop.
But what's noticeable is
the prices.
The big have gotten bigger and the small are getting smaller.
Yeah.
Small and sized businesses could not survive tariffs.
Yeah.
If you were a giant company, you could front load your inventory,
that's
you could keep costs down.
Yeah.
If you're a small business in Georgetown and you're selling toys and books and pajamas, you can't weather storms like this.
This was Target.
I just want to say this. I think the best case scenario for him would be to completely fail with the economy, because Donald Trump does not like to admit that he is wrong. And so if the economy goes off of a cliff, that will be the biggest wake-up call. It's like an addict. They have to hit rock bottom before they make a change. And I think Donald Trump, the economy has to hit rock bottom for Donald Trump and Republicans to understand that he's fucking up the economy.
Yeah. But Kara, let me just make one final point.
Okay, and then
we're talking about the economy for the United States of America. Donald Trump is currently flanked by the most powerful tech giants in the world. And while we think, oh my gosh, look at those tech guys kissing his ass, no way. They have played him. AI is going to change every element of the way that we live. And we are now going into an AI universe where there's absolutely no regulation. The federal government is even stopping state regulations. So this group of individuals, these 10, 15 guys, are becoming more powerful and more successful than any people we've seen in our lifetimes. And that, to me, is the story to focus on. The power they have amassed, like the whole, let's eat the rich. Eat the rich is over here. The mega rich, that tiny sliver of universe of people, are so extraordinarily powerful and have so much control.
And
I don't think we realize.
Richer than beyond belief.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
Absolutely. So, Brooke, what do you think the biggest cultural story of 2026? Whatever you want.
There's so many. But the thing that I'm thinking about as we were talking about Hollywood and the business of Hollywood, which is, again, not my business, but as a voyeur and as a cultural sort of, fan. Guru. By the way, my newsletter exists because of Stephanie and Kara, because of you guys. But I think it's the marketing of these movies. For example, I look at Timothée Chalamet's movie, Marty Supreme. He is a very genius. It makes a lot of sense why he and Kylie Jenner of the Kardashian world are paired up. They have very similar mindsets of marketing, how to market. This movie was marketed in a way they have never seen before. If you watch TikTok or whatnot, a lot of people were very unsure about the movie. They saw it, they came out, they're like, I don't know if I loved it. I really don't know, but I went to it. I went to it because of the marketing. It was not done in a traditional rollout, like the night shows, the
he was
late
standing
night shows.
on top of the Sphere.
He did the Sphere. He did blimps. He did a fashion drop and had all of these sports icons wearing Marty Supreme swag. It's really a whole thing. And when you're seeing, like, there's a YouTube show, Alan's World, that is now, I think the New York Times just did a big story on it. Billions and billions and billions of views a month. And these are shorts. This is the stuff that, your friends Meg Whitman and what's his name want to kill themselves over, because these shows are
Quibi.
Yeah. They directionally correct.
Directionally correct, just didn't have the right stuff, I guess.
Yeah, executionally.
But the fact is, I think how, like, you're telling these stories, whether it's big budget or small budget, the marketing, the way people are connecting to audiences, they are looking at this now and saying, oh, it's not about screenings.
That said, it's not doing that well for the price.
No, but Kara, imagine if the Leonardo DiCaprio movie that came out last year, One Battle After Another,
right.
This extraordinary film. I'm not saying it should have had the Timothée Chalamet, Kardashian, their marketing plan, but had they employed
something
more creative,
because
renegade marketing in a different way,
I'm finished.
People now are like, "What's that Leo movie? Where can I see it?" And it was months ago. I think they missed those are old school, and I'm not calling them old, but like old school Hollywood mega celebrities, where they probably had to beg Leo to do any press at all because he's Leo. Now you're looking back saying, if they would have employed some of these like renegade kind of tactics, it may have had a bigger impact.
Stephanie is right. You've got to have either guerrilla marketing. It's got to be social media heavy. It's not just, you can't rely on the old things of, we'll put an ad here and we'll do it. That doesn't work anymore. That doesn't play. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Traditional media doesn't work in this environment.
Although sometimes it does. Of course, the Vanity Fair Susie Wiles piece blew up.
I'm talking about movies. I'm talking about getting to the zeitgeist of culture.
Right.
So listen, everybody was ripping all over Vanity Fair that they were like, what a during the whole Olivia Ryan thing, blah, blah, blah. We stopped talking about that as soon as they nailed their Susie Wiles cover.
That's right.
Those photos.
The photos were what was the interview.
I refuse to insult those photos. I take issue.
I don't. Everybody love them.
I take huge issue with everyone going after Caroline Leavitt and her lip injections. We can't, in one hand, complain about decency and complain about a president, saying things that are rude or mean, and then go after Caroline Leavitt for getting the same lip injections that everybody else in Hollywood gets.
I certainly don't look at it as criticizing her. I see it as the genius of the photographer telling a story.
No.
That's
the genius, yes. The genius of the photographer telling the story you can put in category A. But category B...
Making fun of her? No.
Making fun of what she looks like is exactly what we're saying is wrong about the president with his sophomoric insults of people.
For me, it's more about them getting played. If they're the White House and she's a communications person, they should be smarter about their communications.
As a communications person, I changed my profile picture on Twitter of the cesspool of when I use it to that picture, because it's like, she's a communications person. She should know exactly what was ahead of her.
What was happening. That was actually
agreed.
Fair.
But going after a woman for Botox, sister, please, who hasn't had it?
I think they all looked bad. I think the only person who actually was onto it was J.D. Vance. He's like, you're going to make us look bad, aren't you? And I was...
Well, he did go to Yale University.
I know, that's true. He's very fancy. But one of the things that was clear is I think they made the outside look like the inside, and the outside look like the inside. That's my feeling. It's just the way they are. Let me ask you one last question. You talked about the movies. What caused you to go to a movie this fall? If you did, I went to see Song Sung Blue, which I loved, with especially Kate Hudson. I thought was really quite a revelation in it. What forced you into the theater? One very quick answer, because we got to move on after that. Brooke?
I didn't go to the movies. This is the first holiday season I didn't. First of all, it's pouring rain in LA, but I just rewatched Heated Rivalry and that Palm Beach reality show that Netflix has dropped, which is insane, called Members Only, which is like the Mar-a-Lago Real Housewives. It is astonishingly bad.
Lots of lip injections. Okay, lots of lip injections. Stephanie, what about you? Did you attend anything? Did anything force you?
I did not go to the movies, but I'm a bad... I didn't go to the movies even when people love going to the movies. Okay. I either like to leave the house dressed with high heels and uncomfortable underwear, or I like to stay home.
Okay.
But like the movies to me,
Okay.
where it's like a little bit stinky in there and I'm not that comfortable in the chairs, that's a hard no.
Don, anything?
Same thing. I like to leave the house with high heels and uncomfortable underwear. But, I haven't made an effort to go to the movies in years because I'm like Stephanie, I'm just not that interested. Now, I go to movie premieres. People invite me to go to movie premieres. So
yes,
I'll go.
You know why, Don? Because you got to put high heels and uncomfortable underwear on.
If
you're going to leave the house, you want to go out.
See, this is why all the noise about Netflix talking about things, I think they're making the correct argument, which is, all right, one more quick break. We'll be back with one more question for each of you. Everyone, we're back. Okay, I have one last question for you, and I'm acquiring a prediction. First up, Stephanie, we ended 2025 with a lot of market talk about an AI bubble and whether it would burst. If that's what you want to talk about, what do you think your prediction would be around AI?
I don't have a prediction of whether it's going to burst, but all eyes are on AI and certainly mine. The question is is it truly the future, and is it going to convert every element of how we're living? There are certainly companies that have added AI to their prospectus who are going to go bust, right? Like there are elements of the .com bust that, like, I remember I worked in banking at the time, and if there was a .com next to the end of your company's name, people were scrambling to attend your IPO party. There are companies that this isn't going to work out for. However, the masters of the universe in the AI space and the companies that are smartly and effectively adopting AI are going to be the companies that soar into the future. How that's going to transform our workforce, I don't yet know. So I don't have a prediction of where AI is going, but it's certainly our future.
Any other prediction you want to just throw out there?
I would just say my prediction is, while people say that like the president's spiraling or this and that, I don't think he is. I think Donald Trump is happier than ever. I think he's certainly wealthier than ever. And he's finally surrounded by the world's richest, most powerful people who didn't accept him for years. And now they're clinking champagne glasses and couldn't be.
Melania's holding his hand again. I mean, look at it.
Well, I very much worry about the future of our democracy. I worry about the health of our economy. I worry about the health and safety of our country and peace in the United States. That particular president, while people say he's a lame duck, and he is a lame duck, if you think he's sad or frustrated or unhappy, he's not. He was in Trump 1.0, sitting in his bed in the White House with his whole team saying, no, sir, you can't. Now he is surrounded by, yes, may I have another? And can I give you an airplane and some gold bars? He likey.
Okay, next up, Dawn. We'll talk about that. Will President Trump make it through the year? Careful the answer. I made a prediction. I'm with the Peruvian shamans on this one. But what is your thoughts of what's coming up in politics or anywhere, and also anything else you want to?
I'm more in line with you. I'm not so sure that he's gonna. I'm not like Stephanie. I'm not sure he's gonna make it till the end of the year. Because I think his health is bad. I think they're not letting on, just how sick he is or his real health condition. And I think that he is, well, you think he's happy. I think he's scared. I think he's afraid of the Epstein files and what could come. And a lot of this, including Venezuela, has to do with distraction from the Epstein files. And I believe that's why the rollout has been so chaotic, because they're trying to throw people off the trail. They don't want a roadmap. However, I do believe, as I said earlier, that this is the beginning of the end for the MAGA movement as we know it. And I think that Hakeem Jeffries could actually end up becoming the majority leader before 2026. I think they're going to lose. Republicans are going to lose 2026.
Before the end of 2026.
Before the end of 2026. I think there are going to be a lot of Marjorie Taylor Greene defectors, or enough that it could change the balance of the Congress. That's what I believe.
Balance of the Congress. Okay, anything else?
Yeah.
But doesn't that depend on where Democrats fall?
It does.
If Democrats scoop up that more center space, they're there to take those votes. But if they don't, then
I
can't
think if they
hold?
scoop up that center space, I think that would be a mistake, because the movement in the party, remember, the people who elected Donald Trump were the people who were motivated to go to the polls. And those were kind of the extremes, whether you like that or not. I think the energy in the Democratic Party right now is on the progressive side. It's not in the center.
Yeah.
The center is over for that. People want someone with balls. They want Jasmine Crockett. They want AOC. And I know people don't believe that, but when I'm out there talking to the people, that's who they want. They want Mamdani. They love him. They love Bernie. And I don't hear so much about.
Chris Murphy has balls?
I think he does, but Chris Murphy does not. He does not have the riz that all of those other folks have. He doesn't get nearly the play. I don't want to be insulting. That's kind of a cable news thing. If you're out there talking to the folks, they love Jasmine, AOC, Bernie, and the like. They're not talking that much about Chris Murphy. They probably don't even know Chris Murphy's name.
So in that vein, Tim Walz is abandoning his reelection campaign for governor. It looks like it might be Amy Klobuchar who is running, and she would be the first woman governor of Minnesota. Someone who is very well liked in Minnesota, by the way. What is your prediction for then a presidential candidate? What does that look like? Because people will be talking after November or before November.
I think
2020.
The easy one is that it's going to be Gavin Newsom. Whether he can win or not, that's a whole nother story. But I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom. I do think that I think someone like an AOC might run. If she's too polarizing, I don't know about that. But I think a strong ticket, I believe, would be Gavin and Maryland, Westmore. Would be Westmore and Gavin Newsom. That would be a really, really strong ticket.
Love him.
Yeah.
He's a handsome man.
He's a handsome man.
I hear everything Don is saying, and I think that Jasmine Crockett is amazing and AOC are amazing, and they're exciting, exciting women. But I also think there are parts of this country that aren't necessarily looking for excitement. Look at this last election. Mamdani had an extraordinary win in New York, and you saw Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger win in New Jersey and Virginia.
Yep,
and
different.
I think if you took those three people and put them into it, I think Mikey couldn't have won in New York and he couldn't have won in New Jersey. So I think that the key for Democrats is to truly figure out for once, how do you become an actual big tent party? And I don't know the answer to it.
Can I ask you a question? Say, what does Mama Rule want to do? Where is she going?
Where is Mama Rule?
Oh, Louise, trust me.
My mom likes Marco, just so you know.
My mom
Vance.
My mom certainly likes Marco Rubio. She's very disappointed in what Donald is doing. But Louise Rule, at the end of the day, cares about the price of London broil. Yeah. She cares about gas prices. She's not focused on Maduro. And so she would love, there's nothing Louise Rule would love more than a George Bush, Mitt Romney renaissance. And sorry, Louise, that Falcon Crest and Dynasty, your other favorites, aren't coming back.
Stephanie, in a way, though, I think we're saying the same thing. I don't disagree with you about the big tent, but they have to figure that out. And every candidate, Mamdani doesn't work in Iowa. You know what I mean? It's not going to work there. But I'm saying the energy, like the loudest voices, the people who are more motivated, I believe, to go to the polls. Yeah. But, you know, look, there's probably a quiet middle out there. I don't disagree with you on that. But I just think that's the folks that people are interested in.
I guess, but I'm just saying, Don, I just don't know that, like, maybe I'm not saying the country's getting sick of what's like, just because something is going viral, maybe going viral is what's making us sick. And I'm not saying centrist is the answer, but I'm just saying we got to find a way to be constructive.
Yeah, but I think it's constructive when I say that the energy's on the progressive side. The progressives want universal health care. That's not, I don't believe that that's conservative or liberal. I think that's a right that every American should have. The progressive side wants a living wage for everyone. And look, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an independent. But yes, they do, but they're not as motivated about it. And it was an idea that came from the progressive side. Look at where affordability came from, and now the Republicans are using it.
The point John is making is the Democratic Party is changing, and there are also conservative versions of this in the Democratic Party, or more Greg Kazar, excuse me. There's all kinds of people, even there's a lot more congressional people. I'm going to finish with Brooke. We're recording the day after the Critics' Choice Awards, speaking of picking and choosing, which kicks off award season. Do they even matter, these awards?
Do the award shows themselves matter?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the Golden Globes is coming up.
Yeah, it's
any
an interesting
predictions
question
on what's ahead?
I think yes and no, and very different for different reasons. I mean, you just had the news that the Oscars are moving to YouTube in a couple of years. That's a big deal. I don't think it used to be like we all would gather and watch like the Oscars, and we'd have an Oscar party.
I didn't
and
know
have
that.
People would do things like that. That doesn't
You
matter.
were never invited, Don.
I think what matters is the clips, right? So we're watching like the Jeff Goldblum interview yesterday about heated rivalry when he was asked about the cottage has gone viral. The TikTokers and Instagrammers who are posting about fashion. And then you're hearing about movies like from the wins people care about. They're like, oh, what is this one battle after another? So it's not the shows themselves. It is the viral moments. You had Timothée Chalamet profess his love for Kylie. These things are which then goes into Marty Supreme. So that is the stuff that is relevant, but nobody's sitting there, like the majority of people aren't sitting there and watching, people's speeches and all of the sort of different nominees. They care about the fashion, they care about the viral moments, and they care about the sort of things that come after.
Yeah, they're easy to digest.
But Kara, the Olympics are in a few weeks, and I do think, just like last Summer Olympics, look at, for example, college football, professional football, the viewership is off the charts. And so I do think that there is a thirst. People do want to come together and watch things that are joyful, that are exciting. And so while they might not be sitting down and saying, I'm going to watch the Oscars, things like the Olympics coming up, even though there will be a Winter Olympics.
Or live music. I mean, we're all coming together for that. It's just these awards specifically that used to be these sort of like cultural moments gone.
What is you're always way ahead of trends. What's the trend we are not paying attention to, and one that should be trashed?
The thing, I mean, I think we are starting to pay attention to, but this content like YouTube, when you're talking about billions of views a month compared to like anything else and what you're seeing, how much money you're being, we have to see, like, and the demographic for that are 7 to 14-year-old girls. It's your demon hunters. It's that. Wow. That is the market, right? Like, forget about Gen Z. We're looking at alpha and whatnot. So I think that is where you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff being created, and animation and all of that. Music. And I think the music aspect, whether it's live, whether it's incorporated into TV shows, movies, that's what we are really leaning into. I would love to put the Erica Kirk memes to bed, like the Erica Kirk morning tour. Like, she's still blowing up. I don't want to see her anymore. But
she's still blowing up.
She is still blowing up. People can't get enough.
Making fun of her.
Hold on. Is blowing up a good or a bad thing?
Of her. They're calling it the morning tour. There's a whole meme going on, like, I mourned Subway's $5, like the loss of $5 foot long, longer than she mourned the death of her husband. And these just keep going. And it is in poor taste. And they have, remember like the guy who did the dance, the Korean singer who like gets shot up through the stage. Gangnam Style. That's like, they're comparing her to that, where she's coming out on stage. And then the whole story of her and JD
But you'd
Vance.
like it to go away.
But
don't you think you've got Turning Point USA raking in the money and their devotees. And then you have people who are it's a grift. And then you have people who are crushing her 24/7. But don't you think there's maybe I'm naive. I think there's an exhaustion of mean where people are like, can we move on from that and just live my life forward?
But
it will go away, but it's this one has had a longer shelf life than most. Yeah. And by the way, I am surprised the Oscars are going to YouTube. I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
2029.
2029.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It'll probably be better. So Brooke, what is something we don't know that's cresting? Slowly out in the ocean. It's a tiny little ripple.
I think we're going to start. I think heated rivalry, what we're seeing, is going to cause a whole new sort of moment for people to come forward and be emboldened, whether it's sex, whether it's the things that we used to not be able to talk about. You had that with Hunting Wives. You're seeing that. And that's coming in content that people are creating.
Is there a heated, I don't know. So tell me, Brooke, is there a heated rivalry, conservative pushback against it?
I'm sure there is, but it is not getting
I can
any
talk
traction.
about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen conservative, the log cabin Republican type believe that it is conservative coded because they are closeted. They're not open about it. They are, they're not pushing it and putting it in everybody's face, except for that big giant kiss. I don't want to, ruin, be a spoiler. But the conservative gays believe that it is gay, conservative coded.
There are people who believe
but I don't mean conservative gays. If we're talking about like the woke pendulum swinging, right? So if we're talking about like, here we were 4 years ago, and now you got Andrew Tate coming over politicians' houses for dinner. Where does heated rivalry, like, does that faux family values movement, are they mad about it?
Well, this
They
isn't,
must be,
I don't
but
think
they're
this is a
silenced.
woke thing. This is kind of a normie kind of, show that has hit the zeitgeist in a way that's not woke.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's going to have some penetration in middle America, like, Will and Grace. People may not like it initially, but then it just kind of grows on you. You're used to
But it
seeing it
is
on your
the
television.
antithesis of the Andrew Tates, and that's what's so fascinating to me. And
That's my
there
point.
are people that are saying it's a psyops, the whole thing that was done to distract us from what's going on with Trump. So there is a growing group of
my
people
God.
that
Oh,
believe
stop
this is
it.
all a conspiracy.
You know what I think?
Look over there. Look at gay sex over there.
I
But like, Kara, you're paying attention
Yeah.
to like where the pendulum
I
has
think
swung,
everybody,
where it's going.
I thought, to me, one of the great moments of 2025, and it paid a lot of attention, was when Golden performed when the people from K-pop Demon Hunters performed at Macy's Parade. Everybody loved it. It was run by, I think, a gay guy. The whole thing was very woke in a very lovely way, in a way that wasn't the in-your-face woke. It's a very subtle, woke has learned how to be woke now, that everybody loves.
The evolution.
And I think the evolution of woke, it's like, I think Heated Rivalry is woke. I think Hunting Wives is real woke, but it's a whole different slide.
But they're all MAGA in Hunting Waves. They're
I
doing
know
coke
that's-
and having
that's the
lesbian
genius,
sex.
joke.
But that's the genius and the
Yes.
joke of Hunting Wives.
That's right. And exactly, like guns, MAGA, lesbians. It's like they're fucking woke has
Cocaine.
learned the way a lot of Congress people. Sarah McBride is a good example. Very slyly, lovely person. She's imperfect allies. It's a different, and so Golden, if you listen to that song, it is completely about being gay. It's about being like who you are, but everybody wants, like, I have the most gender-coded son in Solomon. He's such a dude. He's always showing his butt. He's like, I have a penis, everything. He's so man.
But that doesn't mean he's toxic.
That's correct.
He's just a dude.
He's a dude. But I have to say, I said, do you like the Saja boys? He goes, oh no, I like the girls. Like he likes all the boys like the girls. And that didn't happen with my other sons immediately rejected the girls. Now the girls are, and to me, they are so, when I saw people respond to Golden, I was like, they have no idea what they're listening to here. And I think there's a new version of woke that is going to infect the whole country of
but
kindness.
don't you think that version has woke? But that's it.
Yes.
That version of woke, those young males
Yes.
who briefly got swayed
Yes.
into the Trumpiverse
Yeah.
and then said, hold on a second.
Yeah, you're seeing Rogan.
I'm not against this
I was
group.
just gonna
I'm
say,
against that. They were just tired, right? The profile of my oldest son is a dude. He's not a toxic male.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
and so when he had his finger waved in his face and yelled at, you saw those boys sway. And then moments after the election, they were like, no.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going there.
Rogan is doing it.
You see
There's a lot.
exactly.
I
And when
haven't,
Vaughn
I
is
haven't
doing
seen Hunting Wives, but I'm like, just in my personal life, I would not be surprised to see conservatives or MAGA people doing cocaine or lesbians or shooting, because those are the people who are doing it. In my life as a gay man, my woke gay friends are the most boring with kids people I know, and not out doing sexting and, sexing it up. But the conservatives I know, some of them who are closeted, they're the ones who are out partying every night, who are doing the drugs, who are having the
that's
sex.
always the case, right?
And so that would not be a shock to me. So I think it's just
But wasn't
letting
that
people
the
know
genius
what's
of
happening.
Hunting Wives?
Right.
When you were like, oh my gosh, this is a full MAGA bonanza. Then the next episode, the ones doing the chief
exactly.
of
That was
police.
dynasty. Like, by the way, when I was a young gay person in Washington, D.C., I would say someone rhymes with Ginzy Dam was in the big gay bars. I saw them there. So I just like this was.
But
like,
I do think
common.
that the trend that we're seeing, like you say, the Theo Vons, the Joe Rogans, people are realizing it's not just I don't think it's because they have become morally awake, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think they see that there's more money to be made in the middle. There's more money to go in and say, actually, this
leave people alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that there is this is not what I voted for aspect to it. I believe them when they say that, even though it is what they voted for, maybe they didn't think that they would be rounding people up off of the streets like they did.
Can I just give the final quick
prediction?
Question? I really do think my prediction, and it touches this, I think this year, honestly, love and kindness will reign supreme.
Okay.
People are so exhausted, and I hear you, Don, and the grift
I agree with
and
you.
the hate.
I agree with you.
So many people
totally
even look, right? I have every incentive to not want to believe Marjorie Taylor Greene, and when I watch her on The View, just talking like a reasonable broad, I'm like, God, I feel you. And I don't know if I feel her beyond that episode, but I do think this is the year people wake up and realize, let's give one another a break.
Yeah.
Life's much
I gotta
easier
see your words have to match, your actions have to match your words. So I'll give it time. I don't necessarily believe it right now.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask the final question, though, because the story of the beginning of 2025 was Elon Musk at the beginning, right?
Who?
Of him taking up Doge.
Space
remember?
Karen? Fuck
Space Karen. What does I want to know, because he was the story of we've forgotten since it seems so long ago, but there was a whole cycle of him on top and then on bottom. Now he's back with Trump. He's back with Trump.
They just had dinner. He posted a picture of him and Melania.
What is his future for, this is a texture, he was the most prominent tech figure in 2025. What happens to him in 2026? I want first Stephanie and then Dawn and then Brooke from a culture point of view. Stephanie?
Listen, Doge didn't work in every way, but guess what? He is more powerful than ever. When you look at SpaceX, when you look at the amount of contracts, the possible IPO coming, when you look at how NASA has done less and so much more is being contracted to Elon Musk or what Palantir is doing. I'm not saying Elon Musk learned his lesson, but Elon Musk is in a far better position personally and professionally today, on par to be richer than anyone could have ever fathomed without getting 24/7 public scrutiny of the grand failure that was Doge, right? Like we all said, like Doge is he's gonna try to employ Doge. He will get in his rocket ship and leave, which essentially he's done, and leave wreckage behind, which is what happened to so many of our agencies and just within our federal government. So Elon Musk has left Doge and that's failure behind, and he keeps on trucking. I don't even think he thinks about Doge.
He doesn't.
He takes those headlines and puts them in a birdcage for liner.
Yeah. All right. Next, Dawn. You work for him. How's that case going?
I am not talking about that, for sure.
We're interested.
Tell us.
What I will say, you can say a lot of things about Elon Musk, but I don't think he's a dummy, right? I think he's a smart man. I believe that in this whole political thing that he's learned the limits of his power. And by learning the limits of his power, he's learned where his power actually is. And I think it's being quieter behind the scenes, making better and more innovative cars. And if he and rockets or whatever it is, and if he sticks to that, he could have more influence than running some, Department of Government Efficiency, which never really worked, which actually did not save any money. So I think
tarnished him badly. Yeah.
And he realized that if you're going to be in the business where you're selling a product, and you're someone who is as high profile as him and is the face of the company, then you have to have a good reputation. You have to do good for people rather than taking jobs. You can't take people's jobs and take their money and their livelihood, and they have a smaller wallet and say, now buy my car. It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. So he's learned his lesson. Brooke, finish up.
Yeah,
culturally.
I think Don's absolutely right. I don't know if he's learned his lesson in the sense that he wants to do good, but the celebrity aspect of where he wanted, he was hosting SNL. He was in every single place. He was on television almost as much as Trump. He was speaking and jumping up and down. The cult of celebrity, he realized, is not where his power is. And so he's taken a giant step back from that and is much more subtle and much more sort of, whether somebody's guiding him, which it really seems like might be he's got somebody in his ear, or he just came upon that himself, where the destruction, and maybe he's gone to rehab and the ketamine use is down.
Okay, Kara, that's the perfect segue to credit Scott Galloway.
Yeah.
Scott Galloway has been saying for years and years, he sells the stock, he stops trusting the company when the CEO is on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah.
When they're in a fashion photo shoot and they're surrounded by puppies, That's when you sell the stock. That's when you stop believing in the company. Elon Musk had his celebrity phase, then his celebrity, political kingmaker, and now he's, whether I'm saying realized or not, he's saying, and he's saying, guess what? I'm much better off as the Wizard of Oz, and that's what he is, the man behind the curtain.
Right. Yeah,
but he did expose himself. He did expose himself.
He did. He showed his ass. Yeah. How can we miss if he won't go away to Mars?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, all of you. Let me just read this out. We want to hear from you. Send us your questions about business, tech, or whatever's on your mind and what you think of these fine co-hosts. Go to nymag.com/pivot to submit a question for the show or call 855-51-PIVOT. Okay, that's the show. You guys actually were fantastic and fantastic together. And you outclassed Scott Galloway, I have to say, for our first show of the year. And I truly appreciate it. And so does Scott from wherever he is, whatever he is doing. Again, please write in what you think he is doing. You're probably right.
In 2026, my personal hope is to have a shred of the confidence that Kara Swisher does.
Shred. You know what?
And the cameos.
I love myself.
Yeah, he did Rivalry. We're all going with you, baby.
We're going. Okay, all right. You're all coming on the set and making a nuisance of yourself.
Great.
Now, be sure to check out the Don Lemon Show. It's amazing. He got to 1 million YouTube subscribers. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
The 11th Hour with Stephanie Ruhle. It is the best. I watch it every night, and I send pictures to Stephanie. I have to say, it's the best hour of cable television. I learn a lot. And of course, Pop Culture Mondays, Brooke is always way ahead of the curve on lots and lots. She was always like, I wrote about that months ago. Anyway, thank you for listening to Pivot, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back on Friday, hopefully with Scott Galloway. We'll see. I will read us out. Today's show was produced by Lara Naaman, Zoë Marcus, and Taylor Griffin. Ernie Enderdutt engineered this episode. Jim Mackil edited the video. Nishat Kurwa is Vox Media's executive producer of podcasts. Make sure to follow Pivot on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks for listening to Pivot from New York Magazine and Vox Media. You can subscribe to the magazine at nymag.com/pod. We'll be back later this week for another breakdown of all things tech and business.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
I'm coming to the cottage.